Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining, and welcome to our 8th meetup of Romania Power BI and Modern Excel user. My name is Cristian Angel, and I'm the organizer. We are having the pleasure today to have as our special guest Liam Bastick from Melbourne, Australia. Just a few words about how the meetup will run. We're in the first section with the welcome and overview. I'll show you quickly the next meetups. We'll run then the raffle from the August meetup when the flow didn't work. So, as usual, Liam, I'm not sure if you know about it, but we have a great partnership with Enterprise DNA, and on our first meetup, the flow choosing the winner didn't work during the live event. So we have to run that one first. Then Liam will walk us through and do the dynamic array introductions. We have a live Q&A in the end, and just at the end, we'll have the raffle for September meetup. So, and then the wrap up. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows the rules, so we don't interrupt Liam. And I was about to ask you all to mute your microphones during the session, but I just found a way how to mute it upfront. In order to ask questions, please use the chat and put a Q in front of the question so we can spot them easier. And please note that the meeting is recorded, and the recording will be uploaded on YouTube in a few days. Our next meetups. Well, in October, we have Alberto Ferrari presenting us the composite models, the Gen 2, or the official name, direct query over Power BI data sets and analysis services. Well, it's a really long name, but it's composite models Gen 2. And in November, we have Andrei Lapaine from Zebra BI. We'll do a session. It's not clear yet exactly what session, but in any of the sessions, you'll see the great Zebra BI visuals in action. I tend to think it will be the dynamic commentary, but we'll see. As most of you know, starting August last month, we have a great partnership started with Enterprise DNA, which is our primary official sponsor. Enterprise DNA is offering 3 full licenses on and membership and 3 annual Analyst Hub membership on each of our sessions. And this is totally free. The total value of the package, it's around $1,500 a month. And we are really lucky to be the first user group in the world being sponsored by Enterprise DNA. As some of you know already, in August, when we announced the partnership, we wanted to have the raffle in the end, but it didn't work because of the demos, live demos. So we'll go quickly through that raffle, and then I'll give you a link with a form. So whoever wants to be in the raffle for this month on September and get in the hat for 3 additional membership licenses can fill up the form, and we'll have a raffle in the end. So quickly, we should go to this Power BI file. I hope it's visible. Please write it in the chat so I know that the Power BI, it's on the screen now and you see it. Okay, thank you, Christy. We had, let me refresh. I think this is a test. As far as I know, we had 21 answers to the form and a lower number of participants in the raffle. Yeah, actually we had 22 and 19 participants. So the odds to get the licenses there are pretty high. So this time I hope the flow will run. This is a Power Apps app embedded in a Power BI report. So the first winner, it's Sabah Rashid. Let me refresh the data set. We'll get 3 winners for the last meetup, and then I'll give you the link for this one. Let's get a new one. The flow is running, and Matthew, it's the second winner. And one more ticket for August. Roxana is the third winner. So I'll send you an email after this meetup to all 3 of you because I have the email addresses, and I'll also send the information to Enterprise DNA and then let you know how you can get a username and the full license there. Let me switch back to the PowerPoint. For this month, this is the link with the form for this session. Please write it down or scan it with the camera from your phone. I will also put the link in the chat as soon as Liam starts the session. But if you really want to get in the raffle for this session, please fill up this form. In the end, we'll go quickly and get the raffle for September. I hope this time it will work, even if I'll do some changes in the backend. So let's start the session today. We have the great honor to have Liam Bastick as a feature speaker. Liam is a Microsoft MVP for Excel. I think it's Office apps and services now, right, Liam? Since 10 years.
That's right. Feel free to ask me all you want about Word, PowerPoint, and OneNote, and see what answers you get.
Liam is the owner of SumProduct.com, where you'll have a lot of resources on Excel and the financial modeling. He is the organizer of several conferences on Excel, Power BI, or financial modeling. And actually, we were just talking when the session started. Excel Virtually Global 2021 is coming on October 12th, I think. He, as far as I know, he's also preparing a book on financial modeling using DAX in Power BI. Maybe we'll get some details on it, Liam. We've actually met in 2019 in Sofia, Bulgaria, and I loved him from the moment we've met because Liam has a really great sense of humor besides the 2 PhDs that usually they are not mixing very well, but and I'm really happy to have you as a guest. Thank you, Liam, for accepting the invitation, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Christian. How long do I have, just so I know? You said 3 hours, right?
4. I don't think you have enough content for 4, but I'm sure you can build it up.
I'm sure I could tell
on the
jokes
fly.
for 3.5. No. So what am I expecting here? About an hour, is it all?
About an hour 15.
Okay, no, just so I know what's going through.
It's a lunch break in Romania, so we're having a lunch and learn
5 hours
session.
Then.
Okay. Thank you. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Christian. Hi, I'm Liam Bastick, and normally I'd say at this point I'm an alcoholic or something. I always feel like I'm in an intervention or something at this point, but I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. So I'm conscious of trying to keep the broadband all happy. I'll probably turn the video off in a minute, but trust me, I'm not exactly Brad Pitt here. I'm more in common with his brother Cole. So this session, I haven't got a single PowerPoint slide for you. You'll be pleased to know we're going to go straight into Excel. And if you want the actual Excel file as well, I could have attached it this way, but I thought I'd show you a different way. I'm going to share my screen, and typical male, I can't talk and do things at the same time, but I'll try. So I've got this file. We have a website, SumProduct.com. Don't worry, I'm not trying to sell you anything, because as long as you stay away from the subscriptions page, everything on here is free. So there's lots and lots of material. I'm afraid it's only in English, but we have a tip of the day. We have a newsletter you can sign up to. We have various things in terms of what we call news articles. And if I click on news article, hopefully it will come up. Yes, the thing that Christian was actually mentioning, Excel Virtually Global, with over 50 presenters going through here. We've got coming soon. And there is actually a website you can go and have a look at what's going on in terms of the program. Just thought I'd mention it in passing. I'm not doing a sales pitch here because this is technically free. What we're going to be doing on this is we're going to be asking people to make donations to charity, but we're not going to be policing it. So if you're interested, it's going to start at midnight on Tuesday, the 12th of October, GMT or UTC time. So we've got the times here. These things may change a little bit. I've noticed a couple of other familiar faces in the attendees. I saw Tony DeYonka was there. He's presenting amongst others, and we will be presenting. The agenda might change slightly, but there's a lot of stuff you can find out on there. I just thought I'd mention that in passing. Returning to our website, though, we also have a blog each day of the week. We have things on Power BI, Power Query, Power Pivot. We have a challenge at the end of each month, and then we have the solution, the Monday morning mulling. So we have the final Friday fix, and we've got all sorts of other things on here. And finally, we have this thing called Thought, which is lots and lots of articles that I've written in the accounting press for many years about all sorts of topics. But the reason I'm bringing this up is if you type in array here, for instance, you can see that hopefully when I find the right one, well, look, here's something I prepared earlier. No, I got rid of it. You see, I went to the wrong page. So let's go in here. I'll type in spill for spilling the beans. There's something that's a sister for this is actually getting arrays, spilling the beans on 7 new functions, and the whole idea about dynamic arrays. This came out a while ago, as you can see, 27th of September 2018, which is almost, well, just over 3 years ago. But in here, towards the bottom, I think, and you see there's lots and lots of stuff. So if you want him to take notes, there's no need because it's going to go through. I'm going to go through most of this stuff. But hopefully down at the bottom, let me just scroll down. It goes on and on, doesn't it? There is the attached Excel file right here at the very, very bottom. You can click on this link, and the file I'm going to go through is going to be the final version of this. So you've got this, and you can read this. There's no need to take lots of notes here if you're not familiar with this, but I'm going to go back through it. So this all started way back on September the 24th, 2018. And I'm just going to turn my camera off, I think, now. I don't think there's any need to have me on my ugly mug on screen anymore. We'd had previous to this, we'd had Power Pivot, we'd had Power Maps, Power Query, Power BI, Power Drill, maybe that one I've just made up, but there's lots of things going on, and Microsoft have been busy rearranging the furniture. And by furniture, I meant the calculation engine. And what they've been doing is they've been trying to sort out the whole idea of what we call dynamic arrays. So this is not meant to be a bore you to death thing here. So I'm going to go into the Excel file. Now, this is a starter version of that attached file you can download. So the one you download has all of this already filled out. This is a version I'm going to play with, though. So I've got some data here, and I might just go Control F1 to hide the ribbon a little bit, so we've got a bit more information, and just show you what it's all about. Now, I'm conscious this has been around 3 years. It first started off on Office 365 beta, and it's slowly getting dissipated through the various versions of Excel. But a lot of people still aren't using this as much as they can. I want to show both some of the basics and talk about a couple of the advanced features, which I'll just show at the end. If you've got any questions as well, I will try and answer them as I can at some point. I'm looking at the chat on other pages. I notice Fernando is saying I don't go very well on Twitter, do I? No, I don't. I'm not really a social media person is one of the things there. I tend to do most of my stuff through LinkedIn and through the website, and we do a bit on YouTube, but I'm not exactly Leila Garani either. I'm much more photogenic. But I told you I have a sense of humor. Look, my doctor said I was in perfect shape. He said to me, Liam, you are in perfect shape. He said, round is a perfect shape. So there you go. Now, what I've got here, I'm going to go right back to the beginning in case you haven't seen this. It's been around 3 years and 6 days now, so it should be around at some point. But I've got here a range. And if you wanted to highlight that table and bring it in, what you had to do in the past is you go equals, and you'd actually highlight this here. And what you might have done in the past is go Control-Shift-Enter to add the brackets. If I went Control-Shift-Enter, it would, depending on the range. So if I think about the size, so if I put it in here, for instance, and I want 3 columns, I want the same length, put it here, and then I just go equals, and I go through here and highlight this. I went Control-Shift-Enter, which is how you used to enter these things, put these magic braces in. I would get my array there. This is how you used to do this. You know, you could widen the columns and things like this. But if I wanted to insert a row like this or something, well, you'll find if I just expand this up, I get this wonderful error message. Only Chuck Norris can change part of an array. So we can't do anything with this, and it's quite annoying when you want to change something on here that it gets a bit frustrating. So Control-Z is a very good shortcut to know when you're actually doing things like this. But the beauty of this whole new changing calculation engines is I'm just going to click on this blue cell. You'll see lots of these blue cells floating around in this spreadsheet. But if I go here and click on equals and just highlight this whole table like this and press enter without Control-Shift and Enter this time, look at that. We get a replica of what we had above, and this is giving us what we call a spilled range. So this is actually giving us a spilled range in here. And the interesting thing is you think, well, that's quite good. And if you've not seen this before, check out the formula bar up at the top. You see, it's got equals F12 to H27. No need for dollar signs in here or anything like that. But if I click on one of these cells beneath it, do you see how it's actually gone grey? That's because the formula is not in there. It's in that top left-hand corner. That's where it actually sits. So that's the actual spilled range is what they call it. So what happens if I type something in here? Well, let's do that. Let's type something in here. I'm nothing if not literal. As soon as I do that, let's move this arrow out of the way so we can see what's going on. It actually says here, it says hash spill, which is one of these new error messages that come here. And this is telling us we've got an error that it can't spill. Something's blocking it from actually going any further. So this is one of the things we need to watch out for, that it's going through. And if we click on this little button, it says a cell we need to spill data into isn't blank. And it will often give you this. So it's useful to see what's going on. Now, there can be various reasons for spill errors or hash spill errors. So one of them is something in the spill range isn't blank, can be one of them. So when that happens, if you have a blockage, you'll get the hash spill error. So it's the opposite of plumbing, I suppose. Another one is something that if the range is volatile in size, and I'm going to sort of go ahead a little here with show you one of the actual formulas. If I type in here equals sequence, which is one of the dynamic functions, and put 7 in there, it gives me the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll explain more what's going on in a minute. If I put here the number 7 and actually change this to be a reference to that, gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I change that to 5, you'll see it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's dynamic. So what happens if I decide instead to actually go, right, I'm going to go sequence, and instead of N35, I'm going to go rand between, and just a little trick here, there it is, rand between, just press tab, not enter, which is what everyone does, and I'll go between 1, and 100, close brackets. If I do that, I get a hash spill error, and I'll just put in here good old formula text, which is a great function to use for documenting things. And if you missed what that formula was I typed in there, I'll do formula text on this. Now I'm just going to go off at a tangent because this is what I'm prone to do here. I like to go off at tangents. Being the mathematician, sometimes I'll go off at a chord, but I'll go off at a tangent this time, maybe a cosine next time. One of my favorite things about the formula text function, which is not a dynamic array one, but it came out, I think, in Excel 2013, is it's got this bizarre thing that you don't notice circularities. If I go equals formula text on this cell here and press enter, it'll give me hash NA because there's nothing there. If I go here equals formula text on this cell above, suddenly they both work. Look at that, circulars on both. It's pretty cool. Do you see here as well that this sequence, suddenly this hash spill sometimes is working fine. Sometimes I'm pressing the F9 function key and it's giving me hash spill. And other times when I go in here and press enter, because it's volatile, it may actually calculate, which is what happened a second ago. No, it's not going to do it for me again. So you don't always get a hash spill error. And the reason it's giving me this hash spill is because the rand between function is generating a random number between 1 and 100. So this is going to have a dynamic size of between 1 and 100. And the calculation engine doesn't like that. So if you see that, this is one of the things is to try and avoid using volatile spill ranges. So that can happen. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. So be careful. This error tends to come up when you start using the rand function or similar family ones. But there are other ones like offset, indirects, and today that tend not to return different values on every calculation pass, and so they tend not to generate this error. That's what's going on. Another thing might be if you actually do a spill on the whole sheet. So if I actually put a number 1 to 100, so 1 to 1,048,576, so had a number in every single cell going down a column, I could do that. So this is where we can get what. So if I go here 1, 2, and I just drag that right down to the end, goes a long way, but I went right down to the bottom of the sheet. If I were to actually do this and I had this going all the way down, and I'm not going to. So if I went down here, I went equals that plus 1, and then I went down here and I went right. Let's take this down to here. I don't know why I did this all the way down, but then I went Control Shift down arrow. Well, that worked well. Control Shift down arrow. Thank you. And then I went Control D. For copy down. We can spend about half an hour while it's copying it in, so we get this number going through. If I then try to do in this one here equals, and then I highlight this entire range, so it goes all the way down to the bottom of the sheet, so column A, what will happen is I'll get a hash spill error because it can't put the final one on there. Now I'm going to close that file very quickly because I'm conscious I'm going to have it all go horribly wrong otherwise. Other things, I've got a table formula in here. The problem with table formulas is if I go in here and put equals and highlight this whole range so that it puts it in the table, I'll get hash spill as well. Because structured references and the calculation engine for dynamic arrays don't really get on at the moment, so just watch out. Another one is if you have out of memory errors. I've forgotten what that one means. Get it? Never mind. I couldn't resist that is one, or spilling into merged cells. It doesn't like that. And the unrecognized or fallback error is basically when Joe McDade and his team at Microsoft have forgotten something that could actually cause problems. So you will see these from time to time, but just to watch out. So I've got in here my actual calculation. So just to show you, I can put the entire table in here. If I just go equals and highlight this whole table, make a copy of it just here, pretty good. But look at the syntax of this here. It says basic array example hash all, which is structured referencing, and this pound sign or this hash symbol basically means the whole spilled range in here, and it's something that's come across from the structured referencing of tables too. And if you want to see what I mean by that, if I go here and go equals and I highlight this entire range here, you'll see that the formula in this cell is just L57 hash. Do you see that there? It's equal L57 hash, which means the spilled range that starts in cell L57, which is this cell here. And that's wonderful for creating things like drop down boxes and things like that, where you might have a dynamic range. So if I were to go here, let me just show you what you can do with this sort of thing. So let's use my sequence function, and I'm doing this out of order here, but this is going through. So I'm going to have an input. So let's just go here, home, and we'll format paint and put this in here, put 5. And then here I'll go equals sequence and do that number there. So we'll get the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say I wanted to create a drop-down box of those numbers. Let's bring the back format painter in here. I can go to the data tab and go to data validation over here, keyboard shortcut Alt DL, and create a list. And I can say, right, I'm going to have a list, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it equals this cell here, and then put the hash symbol and click OK. Now, by doing that, if I have this, I get the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, but if I change this to 2, I only get now the range 1 and 2. See how it's shortened? And that's a neat trick that people have been having problems with in the past with Excel. I just thought, well, yeah, that's a nice, simple way of putting these together. Other things, we go back in here, good old charts. I always used to say, if you're creating a chart, always put your chart data in a table. So this is nothing to do with dynamic arrays, because here I have created a chart from this data table here. Down again. And that will actually give me my my chart here. And if I go in here and put in August, for instance, you will see that the actual data will put 90 in there. It automatically extends because that's the beauty. So it's just one of those things that you can do nice and simply. If I do the same with dynamic arrays, so if I go here and take this data here and put it in, I get a chart as well. But the problem is, if I go and put August in now here, look at the difference between the two. This one automatically updates, this one doesn't. Now, there is a way you can do this with dynamic arrays. I'm not saying it isn't possible, I'm saying it's trickier. And therefore, I strongly recommend if you're trying to make a range more dynamic, you'd be better off using a table, because if I want to have here, let's say costs, and I'll make that equals 60% times that number, you will see that this automatically updates, whereas I get these data in here, but it's not doing anything in the dynamic array. And tables just seem to work better with charts. It's not impossible to do this with dynamic arrays, but you can't do it as quickly. That's my key point here. So that's the whole nature of what a dynamic array is. It's a range that can be extended both in width or length, so it's not a given thing, and it doesn't require the control shift and enter, so therefore you can insert rows and columns and fiddle things. So there's nothing to stop me typing in here. It will cause a hash spill error because I'm blocking it as a result, and the control shift enter would have prevented me from doing that. Now, this has caused some problems in terms of between versions of Excel, what we call the legacy Excel and the new dynamic array version of Excel. And so one of the first functions, of which there are 7 I'm going to talk about, was originally called @. So you'll have here the @ function, excuse me, going through here. And now what it's known at is the single function. So if I go in here and actually no, it's gone the other way, hasn't it? If I go equals, I'm going mad, aren't I? Liam, it used to be called single, it's now called @. So if I put in here single, and you see it doesn't come up anymore, but it did come up originally. And the reason I'm calling this single still, even though it's now @, is the fact that I'll make this a bit bigger. If you open this up in an older version of Excel, you can see the function.single error come up as an actual issue. So just watch out that it can cause a little bit of a problem if you're wondering why you get a single error. It's because it used to be known as the single function. So don't worry about that. But what it was, why it's been brought in, is because into the old version of Excel, when you did an array function, what happened was, and I'm probably best to show it like this, if I had the numbers 1 to 36 here, and I went 1, 7, 2, and 8, and we extended it. You can see I can't control the mouse or anything. So we've got the numbers 1 to 36 here. If I did the old one where I went in here and I went equals, and I was actually looking at this column here, and I went equals this, but I put Control Shift Enter in, it would just give me the 6. And the reason for that, if I copy this down, is I get all of these numbers. It's going to show me for this range here. I'll try that again. For this range here, thank you. It's going to show me the number that intersects where they both share, in this case, the same row. So if I copied this down one more, I would get, in this case, it's because it's gone from G12, G7 to G, idiot. Let's do it right now. Let's hold this as abs and press Control Shift Enter. So we do it right. If I copy it down the first ones, you'll see that it's going through G2 to G. I love the beta version. Let's pretend we didn't see that. What it used to do was the intersect operator, that it would show something on the same row or the same column. And I've noticed this with index as well, that my version of Excel sometimes gives different answers depending on how beta's feeling today. This is no longer what's going on. And if you wanted to use it so that it did it the old way, you go equals at. I'd say, right, I want it to do it the old way, please. And I'd actually click on this cells here, and it will give me the thing that intersects with that range. So if I did that and I copied it and I put it in here, you see how it's giving me the intersection. And this is the old way that it was going on. So you're forcing it to use the old way. Now, when this first came out in 2018, you didn't do it that way. What you would actually do is you go in here and you would have typed in instead single, which is no longer recognized, open brackets, that, and they changed it. It's one of the things that got changed. This will now give an actual error, but oh, it's actually put it back to at. Okay, I was doing it on a minute ago and it wouldn't show it. So you see, it's changed it back to the at symbol automatically. Good, because I was trying it on the other computer and it wasn't doing that. And there are some discrepancies in here. But the reason it's useful to know that it was called the single function is to say, if you open it up in an old version of Excel, you could see that you get the old table, you get the function error that it was expecting the single operator. So it would say Excel_Excel function dot single is the error. So you get that. I'll just write that down so in case you see it. So underscore Excel function dot single, and then you get this thing ref if you didn't have whatever the reference is, whatever the cell is. So that will put it in. So if you see that, it's that at symbol. Similarly, if you open up files that you created in older versions of Excel that use things like index or some versions of offset even, and there's other ones in here, you may see the at symbol suddenly appear. And that's because Excel recognizes that it's created in an older version of Excel, therefore the old logic is what it's expecting. Now take care. If you delete that at symbol that's created by Excel, i.e. you've not typed it in yourself, if you then save that file and send it to somebody else where they do not have dynamic arrays on their model, that formula is no longer going to work correctly. And these things are known as implicit intersections. So it's just be aware of this, that this is an actual, can be an issue. So if you see at symbols from old versions of Excel, the best thing to do is just leave them alone. So just to highlight, if I go back to the actual file that I've got here, to show the old one here, it was equals. Now I'm going to try single again. I don't think it's going to work, but I want to see what happens if I've got equals single and take this range. It wasn't working when I practiced this on the other computer. Oh, it has now, but what it's done is it's changed it to the at symbol. And if I go here and go equals at, do the same thing, you will see it's putting in the me. So it's just giving you that it's giving me the implicit intersection between them. So prior to this new functionality, if you wanted to work with ranges in Excel, as I say, you had to use Control, Shift and Enter. So that's the old legacy array version. So bear in mind that the difference between dynamic arrays and legacy ones is that the dynamic array formulae, they may spill outside the cell bounds where the formula is entered. So you're going to have spilling, whereas Control, Shift, Enter will restrict it, as I'll show you in a few minutes. Dynamic arrays will automatically resize as data is added, but that will not happen with Control-Shift-Enter. And dynamic arrays will even calculate in a one-by-one context, which Control-Shift-Enter sometimes gets a bit upset about. Any new formula that returns more than one result will automatically spill. And so an example I used to show here was the old version. If I put in here the numbers 1 to 36, and let's use the offset function. So if I do this again, just to show you what used to happen. So offset's got 5 arguments. I went in here equals offset, open brackets, and I put in this reference here. So I wanted to go down 2 rows and 3 columns. So that will take it down 2 rows to 13, across 3 columns to 16. And then I wanted to have it at a height of 2 and a width of 2. That would mean go down 2, across 3 to 16, and then have a height of 2, which is 16 and 22, and a width 17 and 23. Now, if I show this under the old version, put the @ symbol in front, put that, I get hash value. And the reason you get hash value is because of the fact that it couldn't actually display that all in one cell, which is why Excel will give you this thing. But you could show it by putting sum in front of it and summing those. So 16 plus 22 is 38, plus 17 is 55, plus 23 is 78. And it's, yes, change it back to, it doesn't need the @ symbol anymore is what it's telling me. So it's fine, it's just saying I no longer need that. So it gives me 78. So it knew what was going on. It wasn't a true hash value error. That's one of the things. It was, meaning in this case, it was subtle. It was failure to display. But if I were to remove that now without the @ symbol in there and put it in, under the calculation engine we've now got, it will spill. And that's the difference. And so, you know, this is not a dynamic array function, but this is actually something that will now cause a dynamic array. So you can see whether or not you wanted to do it the old way and put an @ symbol in or not. Column and row insertion is now possible with dynamic arrays. So you've got these things. So I just wanted to say that it was made to make it more versatile, and they really are quite useful. So let's have a look. We've done one of the functions. That's not perhaps the most sexy of them. That's just the first one in here because that's necessary for it to be backwards compatible. That's the point. Right. Let's get sorted then with the others. So I'm not going to do them in alphabetical order. I'm going to start by just going through, and we will begin with the actual function sort, which is something people have been crying out for ages. People have written user-defined functions and things like that. We don't need that anymore. We've got lambdas for that. And I'm sure Christian's going to be setting up a session on that if he hasn't already, for that and all the new lambda helper functions out there. But that's something for another time. If I go in here, I've got a table. I spent some time thinking about these names here. You know, we've got Amanda, Hunger and Kiss and RTD2 and all these. First name, last name and points. Maybe I want to actually sort this on, you know, just the number of points. So if I go in here and type in equals sort, and I'll just go up here to the formula bar so you can see it, and I'll just go tab. So if I go, let's go sort, and there it is sort. It gives me my syntax, and it's got in there 4 arguments altogether, as you can see. It's got the array, which is required. That represents the range that is to be sorted. Then you've got the sort index, which is optional, and that refers to the position of the row of the column in the selected array. For example, 2nd row, 3rd column, whatever. Now, 99 times out of 98, you'll be defining the column. But to select a row, you'll need to use this argument in conjunction with the 4th one for by column. So be careful. It's a little counterintuitive. Default value here is 1 if you don't put it in. Sort order, the 3rd argument, is optional. The choices for sort order are 1 if you want it to be ascending, which is the default, or -1 for descending. You can't do other things like sort by color or sort by formula yet. And then the final argument, by column, this is also optional. Most of the time you're going to want to sort rows of data so that they will want the value to be the default, which is false. But if you are thinking a bit crazily or something like that, you want your mental health checking, you can go true, and then it will sort by column instead. So just watch out. So it's very simple, and it's easiest, guys, for most of the time. All you're going to have to do is just go sort, highlight the points like this, and that's it. That's all you've actually got to do. And then it's actually put those into the correct order. Not too difficult. If I wanted to do that descending order instead, let's just go through. I would just go equals sort again, highlight the range again, but this time the sort index, well, there's only 1 column, so we don't need to do anything here, but then we want it to be descending. So it's -1. So type it in or just go tab and then close brackets and press enter, and it's got them the other way round. Nice and simple. I suppose, though, you don't just want the points. What you actually want to know is who scored first, last, whatever in here. So I'm going to go for this final example. I want to return the whole table. And what I want to do is I want to sort it on the points and find out who it is that we've actually got it in. So I'm going to go in here, equals sort. Let's go take the whole table. It is here. And then I wanted to sort on the third column. So I'll put that in, (3). And the sort order, I want it to be in descending order, so -1. And then all I've got to do is press enter. Now, in the past, you'd have had to have used the rank function, index match, or XLOOKUP, or God forbid, VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, but things like this. But that's all you need to do now. Now, that is so cool, I think. It's just one of those useful things that will help you in there. Got a question. Christian's saying, are the old classic formulas working with new dynamic array formulas? Can they be combined? Yes, of course they can. Lambdas are not yet generally available like dynamic arrays. We'll have a session on lambdas, so good to know. Thank you for that, Christian. But yes, hopefully with the old classic formulas working with dynamic arrays, I'm going to show some of those as we get towards the end, but I've already used offset as a demonstration. Now, you can't go anywhere with sort without looking at sort by as well, which doesn't mean this is the one you have to purchase if the other one you can lease. This is actually a slightly different one. So let's take a look at this. And again, this session appears to be presented by Specsavers. So I've got my data again. I have an idea and so on in here. What you do with sort by, this is slightly different. This is when you want to sort by items not presented in the result. So with sort, you have to have the items presented in the result. Sort by, that's not the case. So let's put an example in. In this one, I don't want to show the points. I just want the first names of the people that are in there based on, well, as it says here, we're going to have it based on the points scored in descending order. And if there's a tiebreaker, if we've got two people with the same number of points, we want it to be on last names in ascending order. So let's do that. So it's just nice big example. So how does sort by work? So if I start typing sort by in, and let's go up to the bar gun, sort by. Right. Now this one has got a different syntax. It's got the good old ellipsis or the ... at the end, which isn't Morse code, means there's more. So this has got at least two arguments, but they sort of goes in pairs, but we'll see. So how it goes is it goes sort by, and then you need an array. And this is required and represents the range that you require to be sorted. Now, an array is anything that's so many rows and so many columns, just posh word for it. Then by array 1, this is required, and that's the first range that the array will be sorted on. Then the sort orders, sort order 1, 2, etc. These are all optional. You don't need to have these in, but they are. If you don't put them in, it's ascending. Now, be careful. If you're going to have two arrays, by array 1 and by array 2, you can't put them next to each other. It means it's optional, as in you can put comma in like the start of a Culture Club song, but you can't do sort by open brackets array, comma by array 1, comma by array 2. It's always by array 1, then sort order 1, by array 2, sort order 2, and so on. You have to just watch out for that. The by array arguments must either be 1 row high or 1 column wide. All of the by array arguments must be the same size. And if the sort order argument is not 1 or -1, you're going to get an error. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward to use. Let's try the example that we've got in here. So let's go, okay, shrink it down. So I want to bring in the actual first names. So let's highlight the first names. That's what we want to bring back, F13 to F27. Now, what I want to sort by, first of all, is the points. So I'm going to put in the points here, H13 to H27, and I want that to be descending. So that's a -1. And then I want it to be on the last name. So if there's anywhere there's a tie, and I think there is a tie in here somewhere, the two, where is it? Is it 976? which is it. I'll go back and find it in a second. But I'm going to make that ascending. So I could go comma 1, or I could just go close brackets. No, you can't do that. You've got to put a comma 1. You've got to put fine. See, that's me trying to be too clever there. I thought you could do that, but there you go, comma 1. Right, puts it in. And we get Artie, Shelley, and all of these going down in here. And I had 2 R2s in here, did I? Yes, I did. Artichokes and RTD2. Oh, I didn't realise that before. Now, if you look at this here, we've got, if we look at this, we have 2 people with 508 points. We've got Blake 7 and Ivana Tinkle. And what this would be is that Blake should go above Ivana because whilst they've got the same number of points, S is before T in the alphabet. So on that basis, let's have a look. If Blake is before Ivana, indeed he is. So that's how that works. Nice and straightforward. So we've got here a question from Fernando. What's the difference between an array and a table? Sounds like a great Excel joke, doesn't it? Let's talk about this. So thank you for this. So a table, let me just explain. What a table is useful for, as I mentioned before, if I've got month and sales, if I put Jan and Feb here, and let's go down to April or May even. I'll go 10, 20, as I showed this in a minute or 2 ago. If I went like that and then use the keyboard shortcut Alt F1, that will produce a little chart like this. And if I want to put June in here, I have to right click on here, go select data, the usual stuff, and then go and edit and change the range and all the usual stuff. So you don't do it that way. You think, nah, I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to the Insert tab on the ribbon. And up at the top in the Insert is this thing called Table. Control T is the keyboard shortcut. And this will help you to create a table to organize and analyze your data, is what it says. So if I highlight that and go Control T to bring it in, I get this dialog box here. Where's your data? And yes, my table does have headers, so I click OK, and it makes this wonderful little color, which is supporting now different referencing. Because if I put in here other things in a moment, you'll see it. The formula is slightly different when we put other things in. The beauty of this is if I create the chart now, or F1, that's my data. If I now put July in here, go 70, do you see the table automatically extends? It's a structured referencing system. And if I wanted the max of that, I just go equals max, open brackets, highlight this here, and you see it says table 1 sales, which means it's that. And if I put in August and put 100 in, it automatically extends. This formula stays the same. It's this structured referencing. And if I put here more sales and make this equal to 60% times these, not only does it actually update the formula, but do you see how it's written it in here? It's actually gone equals 60% times, then in square brackets, at sales. It's that implicit intersection again, isn't it? It's saying it's this row again, the sales. That's what a table is, just so we're clear. Now, what is a vector? A vector is one row highlighted like that, or one column highlighted like this. And typically an array is at least 2 columns and at least 2 rows. So this is an array, that's an array, that's an array, etc. Now Microsoft get confused in their own help. So if I type in, for instance, equals the match function, to show you, because I've been involved in this, our team's been doing this. If I go match and go, oops, and then we'll try that again, equals match, you'll see in here it says lookup value, comma, lookup array, comma, match type. That lookup array here must be a vector. It's confused itself. So don't necessarily read the Microsoft help because it's not always giving you the answer you want. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Control L left over from Excel's interim stage of list. Yes, Excel 2003 definitely introduced that keyboard shortcut as well. Thanks, Claire, for that. Quite right. So we've done single, or the @ symbol, we've done sort, and we've done sort by. So what's the middle one? Given I'm about halfway through this, well, let's filter out the chaff and let's look at filter as our next function. And this is, let's just explain in a nutshell. Imagine this was a table. I went to the data tab and I click the filter button. If I wanted to filter this for triangles, I just go here, click triangle, and click OK, and there it is. Give me my table. One of the things people have been asking is, can I do this formulaically? This is what I want to do. And here you go. I'm going to give you some filter tips. Yes, you can. So I put my headers in here because I want to have the headers still, because obviously I can't have the headers referenced up here. And then I'm going to actually create my formula in here. So how this would work, I've got a drop down where I've got my actual shapes: circle, pentagon, rectangle, square, and triangle. And I want to actually create my filter. So let's do it. So I'm going to hit OK. So the filter function, if I go in here, filter, and let's just make it bigger so we can see it, has got 3 arguments: the array, what to include, and if empty. So in terms of what the syntax is here, array is required and represents the range that's to be filtered. The include argument is also required, and this specifies the condition or conditions that must be met. Now, if you want to have more than one condition, I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then a third argument is what to do if it filters and there's nothing, it's empty. What do you want it to do? Do you want to just give an error, or do you want to put something else in? So let me show you how we can do that. So I'm going to put here filter. And then I'm going to highlight my range, which is going to be, in this case, F13 to F27. Now, if you're playing along with the actual file that you download, we use row 12 as well. It doesn't matter because that's the heading and it will be filtered out, so it doesn't matter. Then I'm going to say that I want this column, and this must be the same range. So if you're using 12 here, it must be 12 on this one. I'm going to go G13 to G27 has to equal triangle. And then if it can't find anything, it doesn't put a less sign. You go in speech marks. I'm going to put not located with a full stop because I'm grammatical crazy person. So I've got this in here, and then I press enter. Look at that. I've got my brilliant little formula. So I'll just use the formula text function here. It's really cool. I like that. And I've used that quite a lot in various files with this. It's a great thing. And if I change this drop down, you can go here to pentagon. There isn't one, not located. So that's what happens. Square gives me my square ones, and so on. This is something I like. Now we can get more advanced than this. We can go down. So how about we go for and? So if you're not quite sure with the and function, the and function is everything has to be true. So if today is Thursday and I'm presenting to you in Romania and I am the best looking guy you have ever seen, it's clearly false, because not everywhere in the world is it Thursday. What were you expecting? So and everything has to be true. So again, I've got the same table. Let's get rid of the ribbon in here. But I've got these conditions here that I wanted the shape to be a triangle and the color to be red. So I've got 2 conditions in this case that I want to actually cover off. So in this, same idea, we've still only got the 3 arguments. So I need to talk this through. So, right, we'll stop the same thing equals filter. Go through, the array is still going to be this whole thing. But then I've got to actually think, right, what are my conditions going to be? Now, when you do a condition and you want it to be evaluated, you put it in brackets. And the reason being, if I go A3 equals true times 1, it will do true times 1 first and then do the A3 equals second because of the order of BODMAS. Brackets over powers, over division, over multiplication, over addition, over subtraction. That's not quite the order in Excel, but it's close enough. So we want it to do the equals first. We have to put it in brackets. So I'm going to say, right, I want the shape to equal triangle. That's the first one. But I want it to be another. So you might think that you want to put the and function in here from Excel. that is not the correct answer. And or are great logic functions in Excel, but they don't work with arrays. The only one of the logic functions that you can rely on with an array is the not function. And or do not work as you might expect. So rather than use the and operator, we actually use times and do it this way, and then put the second condition in, which is going to be that the color here equals red. So on this first one, triangle and red, well, that's going to come up to true. And this is also going to be true. And true times true is not 4, it's 1, because true has the equivalent of a 1, and 1 times 1 when you multiply it through gives us the 1. So that's what's happening. But then what I need to do is I need to, what if I doesn't come up with anything? And I can just put the not located, but I can get cleverer here. I can put here in braces, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put, because I've got the 4 fields I want down here. If I scroll down, item, shape, color, and size, I want to put something in each of those fields. So if I go back up to the formula bar, under item, I want it to just be a dash. So I just put in speech marks, dash. But then because I wanted to go along to the next column, I use the comma, saying, right, move across to the next column. I'm going to put none, and then another comma, and then I'm going to put NA for the last 2, and the comma. Now, if you wanted to go down, so it's going down a row, you use semicolons. But for going across, it is commas. And then at the end, we just put braces in. This is not to create an array because I'm typing this in. I'm not doing Control-Shift-Enter. That's the way you're saying, right, I want it to be this range. And then I just go close brackets. That's just treating all the not located. So if I press Enter now, it gives me triangle and red. There they are. And I'll just put the formula text down here. That cell. Nice and simple. And if I do this again, let's try it with a different one. Let's try amber. There aren't any. So you see how it gets the dash, the non, the NA, and the NA. That's how we got that error message. So nice and simple way of doing that. Make sense? Good to see. With Pranam, you're saying about, will the demo file be shared with the participants? Yes, I don't know if you came in late. I'll put it back in the chat box again. If I go here, it's on here. It's at the bottom of this page. If I go there, I'll just go to the chat if I can figure out how to do it in Teams. If I go back in here, let's go. I'm gonna have to do it this way. Right, into chat. You can see me typing it in. It's there. There you go. I love the way it puts this nice long one in there. Now, right. Let's go back to my Excel for the multiple filters for all. Same sort of idea. So let's do so. Or only one of the conditions has to be true, or one or more, I should say. So I'll do it a bit quicker. Equals filter. Open brackets. Take this whole range again. I-85. And again, put it in brackets. I need the shape to equal rectangle. But this time it's or. And so to do or, you use the plus symbol. And I'll explain the plus symbol in a minute. Oops, and then I'll go on this one. Equals red. And then I can put my little messages in as before, the braces. So I can go that dash, just put none, NA, NA. Now, made a mistake there. What have I done? F85, G85 to G99, H85 to H99 equals G106. Where did I go wrong? What did I put in? Comma, speech marks, speech marks. Oh, forgot the speech marks there. Yeah, this is a live presentation. There you go. If I had a brain, it'd be dangerous. Right. If I go in here equals formula and put that one in, you've got this formula in here. What plus does is it adds them together. So true plus true is 2 because the trues get counted as a 1. True plus false is 1 because the false gets counted as a 0. False plus true is 1. And false plus false is 0. So you think, oh, but Liam, that means then if they're both true, is it going to double count it? No, because all it is it's just looking for the filter, the second argument, to be either true or false. And any number in Excel other than 0 is true. So as long as this second argument in here, this bit here, is true, it doesn't care whether this number is 973, whatever. So if I put 999 in here, hopefully this will, I know it's me trying to be too clever there. I was thinking that might come up as true if I put that in like that, but it was a nice idea while it lasted. But as long as it can actually come up with the true conditions here, it will work. It will not double count it. Good to see that Claire's learned something. Thank you, and putting the other stuff in there. So that gives us some ideas. Now, just while I'm at this, I might just mention that you can actually get other error messages. I've put hash value here. It's just reminded me there is another one. There have been other new error messages introduced to Excel, such as hash field a while ago, and the prima facie errors in Excel, such as hash calc, hash NA, hash ref, hash div 0, hash brown, hash pipe, all of those. There is a new one that's also come out, as well as hash spill that I talked about earlier. There is hash calc, and a hash calc comes when the calculation engine encounters something it just can't support at the moment. And these can be nested arrays, an array of arrays, as it's called, when the array is empty, too many cells, and just when the whole thing just falls over. So if you do see those, watch out. You can actually get other errors in here. So just be careful about the hash calc engine. That and one easy way to do that is if I actually get rid of this bit here. So let's pick this up first of all and go to circle. No, that's got one in it. Let's have green circles. We've got we've still got green circles, amber circles. What haven't we got? We've got any pink circles. All right, so a pink pentagon. There you go. None. Get there. If I get rid of this error message here, so I don't put anything in, and there's nothing, I get the hash calc error message. So that comes up because I've ended up with an empty array. Now, this is not the same, for those that know this, as hash null. Empty array is different to hash null, which means basically nothing. So hash null, for instance, is like if I had the numbers 1, 2, 7, and 8 here, and just again put it in. One of the reasons you shouldn't put spaces in Excel formula is because not only is space the final frontier, but if I did this and then I went space and I did that, space is the intersect operator and it gives me 15. But if I went and did this, if I went equals that, space this, well, they don't intersect, do they? So I get hash null, not hash calc. So there's a difference here because that's not returning an empty array, it's returning there's nothing going through. So a different situation. You could almost say it's unique. Well, can't, but it's a nice lead into the next one. Okay, let's continue. I've got about 20 minutes or so, I think, left before Christian gives me the hook. So let's move on to unique. And what I love about the unique function is unique does two things. And that just cracks me up. It's actually got two different things it can do. It can detail distinct items, that is, it provides each value that occurs with no repetition. That provides each value that occurs with no repetition. That provides each value. Yeah, okay, we've done that joke to death. And also, it can return values which occur once and only once in a referred range. So we've got these two different things in here. So let's actually show you what this is doing with another example and some syntax. So I've got here some data. I've got store, salesperson, which section they're in, and who their manager is, and I want to put it through. So if I type in here equals unique, let's just go up to the formula bar so we can see it. Unique, go tab. Oh, it's done that twice to me now. I love it. Unique, try again. Yes, thank you. Second, I did the same thing twice. Now, unique has the following syntax. It's got three arguments. The first one is required. The other two are optional. So array, this is required and represents the range or array from which to return unique values. The by column, Sorry, Christian, I am going to explain the difference between distinct and unique. Yes, I will. Don't worry, I'm coming. Yes, unique is not unique, Oakley. It's coming. By column is, but sorry, I should have done my Lord of the Rings joke at that point, shouldn't I? By column. By column, this argument's optional. It's got a logical value of true or false, indicating how to compare. If you wish to compare by row, the argument should be false, or just don't put it in at all. And if you want to do it by column, you will need to select true. You'll have to actually put it in. And the occurs once, which is, or exactly once as it now is, this third argument has a logical value too. So the true says only return unique values. So that means the items that only come in once. So here's the thing with it. Let's go through. Let's explain what on earth we're talking about here. Imagine I've got the numbers 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5. Right. There's two ways I could define unique. One way is in this, give me the list of unique items in there. Fine. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or tell me the items that only occur once. Well, there's 3 2s, there's 3 4s, and there's 3 5s, but there's only 1 1, and there's only 1 3. So I've got the 1, and I've got the, oops, click them on 1, 3. So if I go in here, equals unique, and I always do that, I forget to type the Q as well, unique, and then I have this range here, and then I go comma, comma, because I did by column, but I want it to return items that appear, that are just the distinct ones. I can just do this unique, and that will give me 1 2 3 4 5, because that's what most people want. Alternatively, I could do that by going equals unique and going back to this and going comma, comma, and then actually type in false or 0. So go there. I typed false and I went, I love it when it does that, and press enter. So let's do some formula text. You can see what that is. Equals formula text. That cell. That's what I wrote here. Copy that across to here. That's what I've got here. So that's what that's doing. But if I just want to get which values occur once and only once, I will go equals unique, highlight this range again, and go comma, comma, true. It's brackets, and that will just give me 1 and the 3. Hopefully that makes sense. You all right with that now, Christian? Gives me a chance to actually drink some water as well. And there you go. Claire's amending me already, saying that the database terminology, distinct is one of each, unique is the ones that appear only once. Okay, well, that's why I'm not a programmer.
Very right. Clear explanation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right, let's go and do some stuff in here. Let's go back to my Excel file, even if I proved beyond all belief that I am not a programmer. Go back to unique in here, and I'm just going to go unique, and done it twice for me now, equals unique tab, and I'm going to highlight this column here, Control Shift there, bang, and that gives me those, and I'll just copy this across. That's giving me my list, so I can use that to populate drop-down lists if I wanted to. And we've got these things in here, so that's quite nice. Now let's just combine this. Let's get a bit clever. Why not, while I'm here, wrap that in sort? There you go. I've now got this quite good. See how I've now wrapped the two together. So let's just check with Claire's definition. Unique. So what I've got here is the distinct list. Then I think if Claire, you can put a ticker across. So east, north, south, and west is the distinct. Is one of each. So there you go. So it's just showing them, and I've then sorted them. Now, if you put sort and unique together, they're both dynamic array functions. Always put the unique nested inside the sort, because you don't want to be sorting on multiple repetitions. You want to have it as one character set and then sort it and do it that way. There you go. I've got the seal of approval from Claire. Phew, thank goodness for that. Thank you, Claire. So that gives me my ideas here, and I can go through, and there's another example here. So just going more equals sort unique for the section. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of these. So, oops, I want to put it sort unique. Sorry, I went mad. sort, unique, open brackets. And this time I'm going to do it on these two. And what this will do is it will combine them together, and you'll see what happens. That's giving me the list of all the combinations that are unique there. So audio, video is Yvonne, bedding is Winnie, computers is also Yvonne, and so on. We could use sort by to put it on different things. So sorting across two columns is just as simple. Nice and easy. We can do other bits as well. We can go with unique single occurrences instead. So if I want to find out about in terms of the salesperson, I can find those that have only got one occurrence in the list. So I can just go unique, highlight this column here, and then I'll go comma, comma, and put a 1 at the end. There you go. And that just shows me those that only have the one record in here. Echo, Jack, Lindsay, and Oprah. Haven't bothered. I can do the same with the manager if I want to. So I can go in here and go equals unique. Could wrap it in a sort, but I've done that to death already. Go in here, copy it down, bang. And we can go even further with this. So we can start doing nice, big, complicated things. So I'm going to have my section and my manager. So let's put my section and manager. So I've got here equals sort unique, and we'll go for our section is going to be here. Bang. And then for the manager, I'm just going to copy it across. Winnie, Xander, Yvonne, and Zach. Now, for the drop downs here, computers and all this, you'll see I've got the audio, video, bedding, because if I go in here, let's have a look. Let's make this a bit bigger. Alt-DL is the keyboard shortcut for the thing. I've already gone. The source is L94 hash, which is this list here. So if there was more items put in, it would automatically extend. So what do I mean by that? Oops. What do I mean by that is if I click cancel, and let's put instead of audio video in here, I put something else like guns. We'll have a new thing. I don't know why I'm going for guns. You see guns gets added in here now, and then this is actually extending and has guns in. So I don't want guns in there. Take it out again. And we have this. And we can use the and or to actually put this through and have a nice complicated calculation in here. So I'm going to just, right. Let's go for something horrendous here. And rather than me type this in and you watch this, I'm going to open up the file a second time and copy in the formula, because I'm not going to type that in now. So let's go have a look at this. So I'm just going to steal the formula from this one and explain it. So I'll take this formula here, and I'll explain it, because I'm going to cheat. So that's going to take a few minutes to go through. Right, so let's have a look at what on earth has this done, just to show you can write these horrendous things. So what this has done is it's saying, right, I want you in this filtered summary, we're going to go through and build this horrendous little thing in here, is that we can actually go for an and or in here. So I'm going to go, it's another filter. So I want to go for computers and Winnie, bring it in, and I'm choosing the and or. So I'm putting a nice bit of sort unique and filter in here all together. So the unique just gets rid of any duplicate records from the filter. The sort just sorts them in alphabetical order. So that's nice and easy. The key thing is the filter that's all in this bit here going through. So what it is with the filter is, right, it's going to be the table F93 to I122, which is this thing. And then what we do is we're going to say, right, for the condition in the middle, all this, it's going to be, if this is or, we're going to then take H93 to H122 equals computers, or column I is equal to Winnie. So that's the plus. And otherwise, it's going to be the times. And then we have our error messages if you can't find anything. That's all we're putting in here. So it's just going through, and then we've just got the unique is about the ascending order. So for columns 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're going to go ascending, 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 ascending. That's all it is. Notice the semicolons, because we're going by each record going down. Told you it was a comprehensive example. That's why I'm not putting it in. So it's just an idea of how to go. Right, so that's unique. some more. Sequence is the next one. Now, sequence to start off with never looks that particularly exciting. I showed it at the beginning already, but it's actually, I think, of all the dynamic array functions, probably the one I use the most, to be completely honest with you. Now, this sort of got redone after it first came out. They changed it, and I believe this was the first function in Excel, or it was either this or it was XLOOKUP. No, it was XLOOKUP was the first one, then sequence, I think, was the second one, where they actually changed things after it sort of got released and thought, there's a better way of doing this. So for sequence, if I type in here, oh no, it wasn't sequence, it was rand array, so it's the next one. I'm going mad. Before anyone puts it in the comments, I know I've got it wrong here. So I'm going to go here, sequence, and let's have a look at what it actually is in here. So it's got 4 arguments, of which you only need the first one. So rows, this is arguments required and specifies how many rows the result should spill over. That's all you need to do. The columns, the second one, this argument's optional and specifies how many columns, surprise, surprise, the result should spill over. And if you don't put anything in, it's assumed to be 1. The start is where are you actually going to start the sequence from. And again, if you don't put it in, it's assumed to be 1. And step is basically how much are you increasing each time. So it should increase. So it may be positive, negative, or 0. So if it's omitted, the default value is 937,444. Actually, it's not. I'm lying. It's 1, of course. I'm just teasing you. So I can just put in sequence and put 7 in, as I showed you before. And that will just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I want it to go across rather than down, you don't use the transpose function. You do 1, 7. And that means 1 row, 7 columns. It does it that way. But if I go through instead and go sequence, and let's put this in. So holding the control button down, just clicking on these is a little trick. There you go. It starts at 5. It's going 3 rows and 4 columns. So the 5 is the start value, 3 rows, 4 columns in increments of 6. So 5, 11, 17, 23, and so on. And that gives me my actual values. Nice here. We can do more stupid things if you want. We can go through and do daft things like, what about the Roman function? Christian was asking, can you put other functions in here? Of course you can. I'm going to go sequence, and I'm going to make this a 10 by 10 grid, starting at 1, going up in 1s. Close bracket, close bracket. There you go. The first 100 Roman numerals. Amazing. And down here, we can actually decide not to do data tables. We can put other things in. So this is just showing you how you can actually go through. So I can put the numbers 1 to 12 going across here. So I go, right, I'm going to go equals sequence, Liam, 1 to 12. So 1 row, 12 columns. So that's putting numbers 1 to 12 in here. For this going down here, that shouldn't be 1 to 12. I'm going to make it the months in the year. Could be, but I've just did that. There's an actual range name in this spreadsheet called months in year. So I'll do months in year. The tab function isn't working all the time for me today. I've noticed this, but the caps lock certainly is. Months in year. Tab. Gives me 1 to 12. And I can go here, equals sequence, open brackets, and I'll go, in this particular case, I just need it to be the borrowing term, which is going to be this number here, going down. And I've already put a formula in here, which I've knocked out for some reason. Why is that formula gone? Put that back into that cell. There you go. I've used this formula. FF62 is nothing, then nothing. Otherwise, use the IPMT function, and you can see it's automatically spilling and creating this thing, and I'm not needing to use data tables. And you can have a look at this in your own time. And there's another one, which again is written in the notes, which actually shows how I can actually go for, well, let's have a look at the calendar for September 2021. So we are here. It's a Thursday. It works. 30th of September. So you're going through. Okay. Last function, I'm getting towards the end. I'm conscious it's 20 past. I promise I'll be finished by 1/2 is rand array. So with rand array, what this does is it's a nice simple one of how you can actually do a basic one. So if I go in here, I can write a formula This is going to go equals rand array, and just go number of rows 3, comma that. That's just going to do a random value between 0 and 1 over 3 rows and 4 columns. But it's actually got more than that. We've got in here. So this is rand array. If we want to do it as the rand between equivalent, we can. We've got a particular syntax, but we've got more of it. So let's just have a look at the rand array. It's not the rand function, it's the rand between equivalent is what we're going to do here. So I'm going to go here equals rand array. And let's have a look at what the syntax is when we go in there. It's got 5 arguments, and the beauty of this is I don't know if I can think of another function that's got 5 arguments, all of them optional. There's a trivia question for you if you ever wanted one. So I've got in here rand array, and what I can do, it says right number of rows, columns, min, max, and integer. So we put that in here. We've got different things. So we're going to have number of rows 5, number of columns 8. The minimum is going to be 1, and the maximum is going to be 10. That's what we're going to go for here. The formula that's in the actual spreadsheet, if you download it, is more complex because this one did actually get changed. And then we've got for the final argument, do we want it to be a decimal or integer? We want it to be true. We want it to be an integer this time. So we'll go for the 5th one, press enter, and there you go. You've got random numbers over here. And then down at the bottom here, I've got a planning thing. I've got some kids and I've got some presentation topics, and I want to decide who's going to do which one. So what we've got here is we've got the children and we've got the subjects. Who's going to get which one? So let's have for the weeks, let's do a plan. I'm going to use my sort by function with rand array. So we've got equals sort by in here. So my array is going to be these here. Here's my children, F63 to F72. And then it's going to be use the rand array function. And we need to count how many rows there are here. So we use the rows function. I'm going to use count A to do it, just to show again that you can use different ones. Same things in here. So it's saying, right, I want to do it over that many. Oops. I needed a 3rd bracket. Yes, 3rd one, please. And there you go. I've got them in a random order. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this across one. It's going to give me count because it doesn't know what I'm doing, because I'm actually going to do F63 to, not F63 to F72. I'm going to take this and take this. Can't be merged cells, so that's got to be F78 to F87. And similarly, this has to be F78 to F87. So do that. I've got myself a plan. So Horace is doing the Chinese alphabet with dyslexia. And we've got other ones in here for Einstein's field equations using tensor analysis for Diana. That's looking quite tricky. I'm almost out of time. I just wanted to show you a few other things that, I've already shown you how you can avoid the data tables, and there's some more examples in here. This shows you an Excel data table. If you don't understand what it is, I'd suggest looking it up. I'm looking more here today at dynamic arrays, but this equivalent thing could just be done using the data table above, which can use a lot of memory. Now, dynamic arrays can as well, so it's horses for courses, but just showing there is an equivalent, and you might want to read up on it. Perhaps more interesting to finish on is actually creating a pivot table. So what I've done here is I've got the data. So I follow the English 2nd tier football. My team, unfortunately, is trying to go into liquidation at the moment. You have to guess which team it is. Have a look at the league table, might give you an idea. But we've got here the football club, which month it was, and how many points they achieved in that month. And we're creating a little pivot table. And I could actually create a pivot table over here, but I didn't. I actually used sort unique to give me my football teams here. I then did transpose unique sort by to get my months across here. And then I used a basic sum ifs to actually get the data in here. So I never, ever, ever used a pivot table. And the beauty of this is it will actually, if I change something, it will automatically extend. So let's assume that Chelsea get relegated. So there's no Chelsea in here. So it goes Bristol, Derby County. If I put Chelsea in here, in this one, and just go like this, you will see Chelsea suddenly pop up in here. No pivot table refresh. Amazing. So if I go Control Z, just take it out again. There you go. It's formulaic, and I've even created a league table. And oh, look who's top. But the fact is, I've done this using dynamic arrays. So this is the beauty of it. And yes, you can do some of this with Power Query. Yes, you can do it with pivot tables. This is just another way of doing it formulaically. Now, I wanted to leave a few minutes for questions. I've been trying to answer a few in here as we go. As I say, please feel free to read this article, which goes through all this sort of stuff. You see, it's even got this pivot table I've just shown you. I wanted you to have notes so you could actually explain, and it goes through all these things in here, so you can go through and take notes. And right at the bottom, if you hadn't noticed, is the attached Excel file and the link. And I'll put it into the chat one more time. I know it's already been there. I think I put it in twice, but I'll put it in a third time. Third time's the charm. Let's put it in the right one though, and just put it here. And I think what I'll do is I'll put my camera back on. I will take myself off sharing, and I'll take questions for a little while. Just while we're getting questions as well, I just say, you know, if you're interested in these sorts of things, Christian was alluding to the fact there is another book coming out. I think I've written about 7. I'm losing count now. I've been involved in a couple of charity books for Excel tricks and tips with about 25, 30 other MVPs and also Power BI equivalent. And we've been writing these books in financial modeling. We've done. This is for Excel. There's another one for continuing financial modeling, which goes further. But the exciting one that's coming out in about January next year, which is a completely different topic, and I'd love to come back here, perhaps then, Christian, talk to you about that next year, is we're going to do something radically different, financial modeling in Power BI. Now, let me just be clear what this is. People say, yeah, I've been able to do that for ages. I've seen people put cash flows into Power BI. I've seen people put P&Ls in. I've not seen anyway build 3-way integrated financial statements into Power BI. People have got 3-way integrated statements that they bought in from some third-party software, or they bought in from Excel. I'm talking about building it in Power BI so you can actually drill down on it. And I think that's going to be interesting. Anyway, that was just me going off. Any questions out there, gang? I was going to say that a few of you have been interacting. I've been trying to deal with them as I've gone, but I'm conscious you've got other stuff to do.
I think you answered all of them during the session. Thank you. It was a great session, Liam, and it's amazing what the new functions can done if used properly and if you have a bit of imagination with them.
Absolutely. I love them. I'll be honest. I build complicated examples all the time. One of the things I've been trying to do is create a financial model using the dynamic array function, so you could actually change the number of periods you're reporting over. One of the problems we're finding is how you refer to the previous cell doing that. There is a bit of an issue between index and the dynamic arrays, because you can't reference an array within an array at the moment. This is a restriction. Hopefully Microsoft will counter this at some point, but this is causing a few problems. But I think that if enough people realize that this is a little bit of an issue that they need to overcome, then Microsoft will vamp up the calculation engine. And I'm sure they're working on it. And the other thing, if anyone probably hasn't noticed yet, is that at the moment, perhaps the biggest frustration I've got with dynamic arrays, other than that, is that the formatting doesn't stick. So when you extend it, it doesn't take the formatting with it. I'd love to have dynamic formatting so that the cells would actually change. But frustratingly at the moment, that's not been seen as a priority by Microsoft.
Yeah, and as far as I know, when I first saw it, they were not working very well inside tables, right?
No, they don't work at, and there's the reason for it's a different calculation engine using structured referencing there. So I think there's always going to be problems, but it's they don't work particularly well. So I always use them outside. But you could argue you've got the same problem with Excel functions in general and pivot tables. It's just, you know, I think rather than get frustrated about it, we've accepted these things in other areas of Excel. So let's just deal with this too. I'm not so bothered about that. I'd rather they sort out formatting and being able to do arrays of arrays. If they get those two things out, it will be pretty much Turing complete. Because I still think they say that Lambda makes everything Turing complete, but I think there's still problems I can create that Excel can't cope with. I'll create a dynamic control account, which I don't think Lambda will cope with.
I'm
Anyway,
sure
that's for another
you'll
day.
get a voice inside the product team there, and you can help them at least.
Oh,
show
don't
the-
worry. I contact Joe McDade regularly, and he basically just goes, "Please go away." And that's Joe and I used to work together many years ago, so I'll always tease him. Anyway,
Well, thanks again for the great presentation, Liam.
No
It
problem.
was amazing, really amazing. We still have 5 more minutes to run the raffle for September. Let me share my screen.
I might say cheerio then.
I hope it's visible. So until now we got 15 answers. Let's refresh it. See whether we have anything else. Yeah, 16 answers and 14 participants in the raffle. I would say this is a pretty high chance of winning, right? One moment, just to update the flow and save it. The distribution during the world, even if it's Romania Power BI user group, we're mostly from Romania, but we were spread all over the world this session. So let's run the raffle and choose the winners. Let's randomly pick the first one. Hope this time it works. It would be really cool. Yeah, Janko is the first winner. Let's refresh it. At least it works this time. Next one. Not refresh, the random winner. Run the flow again. Anna is the second winner. And the third one. Let's see. No, not me. I'll run on a different one. I think I clicked the button there. Of course, it had to happen something strange during the live demo, right? I already have a membership license there. Mariana is the third winner. So I'll send you all an email and provide your email addresses to Enterprise DNA team. And hopefully in the next days, you'll get the membership and you're good to go in accessing the membership license there. Thank you all for joining. Thanks again, Liam. It was an amazing session, and see you all next time in October with Alberto Ferrari and Composite Models Gen 2. Thanks again, Liam. Thank you everyone for joining.